It's time for my monthly palette ranking. I'm finally getting to it. I've been putting it off a little bit because it's been very, very difficult to rank all these palettes, and also there are so many palettes coming out right now, like so many. Some brands have been launching every month, and I gotta say it's definitely quite overwhelming. And my best advice to you right now is just wait for Black Friday sales. It is middle of October. I would just put things on your wish list and then wait it out until Black Friday sales, or who knows, maybe it will be like last year and the sales will just start in the beginning of November and go through the whole month, and you might even find yourself not wanting some of the things that you have put on your wish list by the time the sales roll around. So let's get into the ranking. I have 6 palettes to rank. It's technically 7. I did try the Ensley Underland palette in September. It was kind of towards the end of September, and I do always want to use the palettes off camera as well before I do my palette ranking, so that I try them out some more to really be able to form a full opinion. And as always, I'm going to preface the ranking with none of the palettes I think are horrible, bad quality, and should have never been made. It's really just a huge matter of preference. In 6th place is the Eternal Twilight palette, and this is from Eye, and it is basically 2 palettes in one, and I stand by what I said in my video. I think this should have been 2 palettes because it is so obviously separated, especially also because there's extra space in the center. It's so obviously meant to be 2 different color stories that I think it would have been better for people to be able to choose which one they wanted. I think some people might lean towards here, some people towards here, and of course you have people that will want both of them together in the palette, but I just think it would have been nice to offer that as an option to pick and choose. Personally, I prefer this side of the palette. I think the mattes were on par with Eye mattes, which I really do enjoy their mattes, and I really love just the level of depth here. However, there were a couple of questionable squishy shades, so especially Balder. This one was very, very, very squishy in the pan, and Luminosity as well. And then I love Guard. It was very dry and piecey and very Topo-like, and I would love to see more shades like this from them. So that's why it's in last place. Let's talk about the 5th place now. It is the Danessa Myricks Beauty Lightwork Volume 5 palette. Is it 5 or 6? I've lost count at this point, and I do have a dedicated video on this entire palette talking about it, explaining how it works, as well as comparison swatches. And the reason it is ranking so low is because it is an all shimmer palette, and I have a pretty large single eyeshadow collection full of multi-chromes and shades that are already in here, and I knew that going into purchasing the palette that was going to be the case. However, I really wanted to try it out and also be able to do swatch comparisons for everyone, so that's why I got it. And it's very exciting to see this many multi-chromes from a more mainstream indie brand available at Sephora. Now personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of the modularity of this palette because you can take all 3 of these out, you can stack them, you can put a lid on from here, or you can use the back of this as a large empty palette. It is not necessarily a new concept, but it's definitely a unique concept, especially at Sephora. However, my gripe with this was that the groundwork pans don't fit in here, and I think that's such a missed opportunity. I think it would have been really, really cool for people to have been able to mix these in and out. And I had one shade break on me, and there's a couple of shades in here that are a little bit more emollient and a little bit more squishy. So if you have hooded oily lids, I would approach this palette with caution, because generally speaking, some of them feel a little bit more on the creamy side. I wasn't the biggest fan of the satins in here, and that's why it is ranking in place number 5. In 4th place is the Enchanted Autumn palette, which is in collaboration between Fantasy Cosmetica and Makeup Just for Fun. Love the artwork on this palette, and also love the color story. There's a variety of different textures of shimmers. The reason this is ranking a little bit lower is because I felt like the mattes in here are not really the same as the other mattes I have tried in previous Fantasy Cosmetica, and I've tried the mattes off camera on different eyeshadow primers, and I still feel like they're just not quite the same. I'm actually wearing the Harvest of Souls palette that is about to release on October 15th. Those mattes feel different from these mattes, so I had a little bit of trouble blending them out and layering them as well. I love how sparkly Libra is, and none of the shades are squishy, which is definitely awesome. There's a variety of finishes in here, and I just love how, like, you look at this and you're like, yep, this is cozy fall. In 3rd place is actually a palette that launched, I believe it was last year, from Bella Beauty Bar. It is a Stren Unusual, and they have since redone this palette, and I think they slightly updated 2 of the shades, and also it is now a magnetic palette, so you can move these around, you can take them in and out and create your own color stories. And I did purchase this palette because the new Beetlejuice movie was coming out, and I just knew I had to have something Beetlejuice themed. I think the color story is very on theme, a really great job in embodying the movie. There's some really special shimmers in here, specifically Lost Souls, as well as Tombstone and Afterlife. Also love San and warm, of course love me. I can never have enough iridescent shade, so really enjoy this palette. The only thing is I wish there was maybe one more matte instead of one of the shimmers, so I'm very happy that I got that palette. And in second place is a Unity palette from Adept Cosmetics. It's a very berry tone color story. None of the shades are squishy. This is my preferred formula from them, where it's really just elevated, very high-end feeling on the drier side, but very PC, very punchy, very sparkly. Some of them are a little bit more sheer than others, but for the most part they are opaque, so really enjoy this palette overall. And there's some really special dimensional shadows in here, specifically Tranquility I absolutely love, Serenade I love, as well as Balance Bond. I think you could definitely do some very easy one and done type of looks with these shimmers. So in first place is a Bella Beaute Bar palette. It is the Poison Garden palette, and I mean, Bella Beaute Bar has been on a roll this year. Just look at this color story. It is so beautiful. It is very, very fall, but like a little bit extra because of the pop of the blue and the beautiful dark teal down here. The mattes perform beautifully. There are two slightly squishier shades, Angel's Trumpet and Wisteria, but I can use the tissue method. Opium Poppy, Belladonna, I mean, oh my gosh, it is such a unique shade. Wolfsbane is also absolutely stunning. Poison Hemlock is very, very interesting. It's like confetti in an eyeshadow, but like make it Halloween confetti, but it's not like holographic, but it almost seems like it's holographic. It's such an interesting shade. Lots of very unique kind of shades in here. I just really love this color story, the tones in here, and in combination with all the different shimmers in here, it is such a beautiful palette. So let me know if any of this ranking shocked you, but also let me know what is your favorite palette from September that you used, that you just wanted to reach for constantly. It doesn't have to be a new release by any means. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.